xTool D1 garnered something of a reputation when it first came out. This is the all-new xTool D1 Pro, and one of the major upgrades is this, the 20-watt laser module. It's one of the most powerful diode lasers that you can get your hands on. I've also heard it can produce beautiful colors when engraving on metals. But can it? Let's find out. Welcome to Mellowpine Lasers. You can get the 20-watt version of the xTool D1 Pro for around $1,200. I thank xTool for sending this laser for review. However, I would like to let you know that this video is not sponsored by them. xTool D1 Pro has 3 different versions, a 5-watt, a 10-watt and a 20-watt version, where the only thing that changes is the actual laser module. We have the 20-watt version right here. Another laser engraver that has a 20-watt module is the Atomstack X20 Pro. We will get to those comparisons later. The machine is reminiscent of the classic Iron Man suit with its red and gold color scheme. They also have a grey color option. I think this looks awesome. On the frame side, you have these sturdy aluminum C-beams that make up the machine's body. The only part of the frame that is not aluminum is the linear guide rails and the wheels that roll across them. They are steel. Most of the competitors use plastic wheels or aluminum rails. The steel rails and wheels on the D1 Pro will definitely hold up in the long run. For linear motion, the D1 Pro uses a belt drive mechanism. And they have designed this really handy mechanism to adjust the belt tension. You have this screw on the back of the machine on each side. You just have to tighten or loosen it to adjust the tension on the belt. Another thing that I liked about the xTool D1 Pro is that they give you these risers, and they give you 8 of these, 2 for each corner. So you can get 3 height levels using these risers, which will come in handy when you use a rotary roller or if you want to engrave on something thick. Now about the assembly part. Putting together the xTool D1 Pro will take around 20 minutes. The assembly is straightforward. You just attach the 4 aluminum plates that make up the frame, put the timing rod in place, attach the X-axis gantry to its plates and connect the wires. xTool gives you an instruction manual with pics of each step you need to do to put the machine together. They also give you a hex key driver in the toolbox along with a few other tools and a memory stick. If you look at the controller on the xTool D1 Pro, it uses an ESP32 board with support for Wi-Fi. There is also this little Wi-Fi antenna on the front side. Apart from the Wi-Fi connection option, you also get 2 other options, the memory stick and the USB connection. D1 Pro also has limit switches on both axes. Most laser engravers with limit switches will have them at one of the corners for homing the laser. The D1 Pro has limit switches on both ends of the X and Y axis. This means your gantry will never hit the frame on any of the sides. The limit switches on the D1 Pro are not the typical contact type switches you see on most machines. Instead, these are non-contact type switches, which means you wouldn't have to replace them as frequently as you would in the case of contact type switches. They will run for a long time. D1 Pro has this button on the front right side of the machine which acts as a reset button and doubles up as an emergency stop switch. One thing that I really like about this is that when you are using their xTool Creative Space software to run this machine, you can use this button to do the framing operation. If your computer is not close to the machine, this will help you a lot. You can press the button and watch the framing without running back and forth between the machine and your computer. You can also use the button to start any files loaded onto the memory stick inserted into the controller. The entire machine was designed by putting a lot of thought into it, but I am not too fond of the way the button is placed. Sometimes when I am loading the workpiece onto the work area, the button gets pressed accidentally and starts running the file in the memory stick. They could have set the button a bit deeper into the frame, put in a bit more play, or set it on the side instead of the top. But with a few accidental triggers, I learned to be careful, so you will get used to it. Now, to the most crucial part of the machine, the laser module. xTool D1 Pro comes with 3 laser module options, a 5-watt, a 10-watt and a 20-watt module. The one they sent me is the 20-watt one. It is also bulkier, which is why you have about 10 mm less work area on the 20 watt compared to the other 2 versions. The only diode laser engravers with a 20 watt option I know of are the Atomstack X20, a 20 watt module from Neje, and the 20 watt setup from Endurance Lasers. The module uses 4 5 watt diode lasers and a system of lenses and mirrors to combine them. The laser spot you can get is around 0.08 by 0.1 mm, which is thicker than a 5 watt or 10 watt laser. This means that the cuts you make will be wider in one of the axes. The laser module has this orange colored shield on it to block out the laser beams and also helps guide the smoke and fumes away from the cut. They also give you a pair of safety goggles with the machine to shield your eyes from any reflected laser beams. Now to the focusing part. I really like how they have made focusing simple. You have this focal length adjustment bar which you drop down, loosen the screw on the other side and move the module down till the bar touches the material. Tighten the screw and put the bar back. This is one of the most uncomplicated focal length adjustments I have seen on lasers. You also have this nifty feature where you can compensate for the thickness of the material when cutting. Say for example you are cutting 6 mm ply, you have to loosen the screw on the right side of the module and align the focal length adjustment bar with the line number 3. This will set the focus at the center of your ply. Another good thing about this laser is you also get an air assist nozzle in the kit. It comes with a 6 mm connector. I would recommend you to use an air assist for cutting. It not only makes the cuts cleaner but also lets you cut faster. xTool also offers an air assist with the D1 Pro as a separate purchase, costing around $140. I have a big old compressor in my shop, so I decided I'll make an air assist using that, and it cost me under $50 to get a really effective air assist that I can use with all of my machines in the future. If you guys are interested, I'll do a video on how to make an air assist from a compressor. On the safety side, the module has a flame detector located behind the module facing the work area. It's an infrared sensor that can detect heat levels. A little flame is produced when laser cutting, which is okay. But if it keeps burning, it can cause a fire based on the material you are using. The sensor here will power down the laser if it detects a flame that stays for more than 3 seconds, preventing a fire. You can change the sensitivity of the sensor to trigger less frequently in the xTool Creative Space software. I use light burn most of the time, and the sensor was triggering when I was performing some tests at low speed. So I covered the heat sensor with some masking tape. This reduced the sensitivity but didn't block it off completely. When there was an actual flare-up, it did stop the laser, so I think this is a good workaround for reducing sensitivity for light burn users. The laser module will also shut off if you tip the laser beyond a particular angle. This prevents the laser from hitting surfaces other than the workpiece. The laser module on the D1 Pro is a powerful one. It can work on wood, leather, paper, acrylic, fabric, rock, ceramic, glass and metals like stainless steel and aluminum. I ran some tests and made a bunch of things on this laser. Let's watch them first and I'll talk about those later. The first thing I always do on a new laser is to run a test pattern to figure out the right speed and power settings. So I ran the pattern on some ply, I engraved some lines at 10% power to 100% power and at 500 mm per minute to 20,000 mm per minute. But I doubt the machine went beyond 18,000 mm per minute based on the values set on the controller. But the results are good and it could engrave well at high speeds. If you look at the line spacing test, the separation between the vertical lines is not so distinct, and this is because of the wider spot size on the x-axis. I also ran the test with and without the air assist, and while engraving, it's better to keep the air assist turned off to get a clean engraving. For cutting, you should use an air assist to get cleaner cuts. I cut some pine on the laser with air assist and the edges had no burn. I also wanted to try out the color engraving advertised on their website, so I did an engraving power test on an aluminum sheet but didn't get much color separation and the colors faded after a couple of days. However, when I tried engraving a design on a stainless steel knife, the engraving came out with some cool color gradients with good contrast, which is permanent. This was unintentional. I will have to figure out how this works, and when I do, I will post a video on how you can do it. So now, talking about the speed, xTool mentions the maximum speed of D1 Pro as 24,000 mm per minute, which is really fast. However, when I read the values written in the controller using Lightburn, the maximum speed is set at 18,000 mm per minute, which is still faster than the maximum speed of 12,000 mm per minute you see on most diode lasers. But does that have any actual use? Well, if you use it primarily for cutting, you will never be getting anywhere near the max speed. I ran it at 600 mm per minute for cutting some 5 mm pine and it took 4 passes. Still faster than most diode lasers though. But when it comes to engraving, it's a whole different story. Even at 18,000 mm per minute, the engraving is dark, which means you can complete your engraving jobs faster. Pair that with a large work area and you can work on huge workpieces. For example, if you were to engrave a 430 by 400 mm square on ply, you could do it in under 2 hours. I have used 10 watt lasers, 5 watt lasers and under 5 watt lasers, and a 20 watt laser is a huge step up in terms of the time it takes to engrave. You might be wondering whether the D1 Pro will be able to accelerate quickly enough to attain the maximum speed. Well, I did the calculations. Based on the acceleration values written in the controller, the D1 Pro needs 18 mm of space to accelerate to 18,000 mm per minute. So as long as your design is longer than 20 mm, you can use the machine's high speed. So if you want faster cycle times, go for a 20 watt laser. Coming to the software side of the machine, xTool has its own free software for the D1 Pro called the xTool Creative Space. You can use it to create designs and also control the laser. You will get most of the tools and options you would need. The software is easy to learn and has a support page for the software to help you get started. You can connect to the machine over Wi-Fi or USB. The D1 Pro is also compatible with Lightburn, and xTool also provides the configuration file to help you set up the machine with Lightburn. Lightburn is a paid software for lasers, but it is worth every dollar you spend on the license. It gives you some advanced control options that you can play around with. It works well with D1 Pro and you can connect to it via USB. It doesn't connect over Wi-Fi. If you are using this laser for hobby laser projects, the xTool Creative Space software would work just fine for you. If you need more options to fiddle around, you can get Lightburn. Better yet, you can try Creative Space and the free trial for Lightburn and then decide which one works for you. Now, comparing the D1 Pro with Atomstack X20 Pro, the D1 costs about $100 more than the X20. On the laser module front, both are 20 watt modules, but the one on xTool uses 4 5 watt diodes and the X20 uses 4 6 watt diodes. This could mean the Atomstack would be running the diodes at around 85% power to get the 20 watt output. This could translate to a marginally longer life, but this is just speculation. The laser spot size of both machines is the same at 0.08 by 0.1 mm. On the build quality side, I have an Atomstack X7 and I found the build quality to be good, but I would lean towards the build of D1 Pro. A significant difference in the build quality would be in the linear rails and rollers. D1 Pro has steel rails and rollers, whereas the X20 uses aluminum rails and plastic rollers. The steel roller and rails will definitely run longer and maintain accuracy for longer than aluminum rails and plastic rollers. On the software side, you have the capable xTool creative space for the D1 Pro, which is free, and for the X20 Pro you have the laser Gerbil software as a free option. In addition, both of them support Lightburn. So if you are looking at which one has the better free software, it is the xTool D1 Pro. On the controller side, Atomstack comes with a touchscreen controller to run jobs without a computer. You can run the jobs offline on the D1 Pro as well, but it will be much easier on the Atomstack. The Atomstack X7 that I used also has a touchscreen controller and it is easy to use. The D1 Pro has the flame detection sensor as a safety feature, which is not there on the X20 Pro. If you consider the work area, you get 30 mm more space on the X-axis on the D1 Pro. Now, looking at the speed, the top speed of D1 Pro is twice that of the top speed of the X20 Pro, which means you can engrave faster on the D1 Pro. When it comes to cutting, I believe both are going to perform the same, as you wouldn't be going at high speeds for cutting, unless it's something like thin sheets of paper. Another point of comparison would be that the X20 Pro comes with an air assist, and for the D1 Pro you need to purchase it separately. So those are the significant differences between Atomstack X20 Pro and xTool D1 Pro 20W. Both are good machines, but when it comes to build quality, I will lean towards D1 Pro. It is tough to choose between these two. It all comes down to how you like to use the machine. So tell me in the comments which one you would choose and why. That brings us to the end of the review. The xTool D1 Pro is a powerful diode laser machine that has some serious cutting power when it comes to diode lasers. Pair it with an air assist and you will get good cut results for your hobby projects. You can also consider the D1 Pro as a good option for small scale businesses. On the engraving side, the D1 Pro can do jobs really fast. So that's about it. I'm working on some cool videos on how to cut and engrave on different materials using diode lasers. If you like watching my videos, do subscribe to my channel to not miss out on some interesting content. You can also check out mellowpine.com/CNC for more interesting stuff on lasers, CNCs and manufacturing processes. So thank you for watching. See you next time.